All right, hey guys, Sam here with you on Thursday, October 4th. Now, as it's a Thursday, we look at traditional assets today, so we polled the members, let them decide. And first up by request, here's a look at the Nasdaq. I've got the E-mini futures up, so this is the continuous contract. So we've got December contract month, this is front month here. So look at this here. Now I've got a 3-day chart up. And you think, oh, okay, well that's interesting. We're going all the way back to the internet crash low, right? Here's the financial crisis low. And you say, all right, well, there's probably some sort of an Elliott count there. So what's the point of the pitchfork? Well, when you have this kind of parabolic move, it can be really helpful, not only just to see the separation in the waves. It can be a little bit easier if you go to log scale. So note what happens when we go to log scale. All right, so that gets me very much in alignment with these median lines here. So it's not unreasonable to look at this as, here's our, the internet bubble crash low to the financial crisis low. That's not an unreasonable 1-2. You've got the subdivision there. So if that's in the very largest degree here, a 1-2, well, you can make a case that a 3 is going in here. Now we're extreme, of course. So again, whenever you're in log, it distorts to the eye. Well, we're past the 3-6-1. So that looks like about 5-6-1. So it's not so much that it matters how that relates to that 1-2. Oops, don't want that. We certainly have an impulsive structure here, and you can get a fairly clean, look how the 2 and the 4 very similar. Now we have this extension here. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not necessarily an extension. Let's look at it relative to the length of the 1. So if I take the length of the one way, the proposed 1, and move it from the proposed 4, well, we're sitting right here. We've just gone we've gone a bit past the 2-6-1-8, but running into this upper parallel here of the median lines, makes you think, wow, do I have a completed 5 here? And it looks like we just might. So there's a reasonable argument to be made that there's a 3 going in, setting up for a retrace for the 4 of this very large degree. So if we think about what that would look like, so again, whether we're looking at a 3-day chart or a 3-minute chart, it's the same thing every time. So we pull this up. So where would that could be interesting. So the median line and the 38 coming in. Now these, we can take this off. All right, we're just looking for any signs of any technical level that let's take the 1 through the 3 and project it from the 4. So there's the 100. So you have, right, so we have that combination. So you have a bit of confluence here. So again, we take the length of the 1, projected from the 4. So we have a bit of a hot box up here that is of note, right? That's worth noting. So we have confluence here. So the 100 and the 2-6-1-8 right on top of each other. Upper parallel, granted it's log scale, but upper parallel. All right, take it out of log. So that you're still same thing. We still have that hot box here. So I'm gonna just leave that marked, and then we'll pull down to some smaller degrees. But that would put us about February of 2019, setting up. So, right, of course, we're just looking for something like that to bring us down here, to give us the potential 4 that would set up for the 4 into the 5. Now that would just be, wouldn't that be just ideal to have it come back to the median line? Again, I'm not calling the top. I'm just making an observation, and we have the ingredients for a top. So let's go from the 3-day. Let's go back down to the daily. See how that looks. So I'm going to take it out of log scale. Just wanted to show you that we had some significance there that was worth at least looking at. So let's work from so here's the election, right? So this is the Trump bump, all right? So here's the election and then the move off of that. So fairly straightforward, right? We, again, don't have to be a master Elliottian. This looks like, so this actually looks like that's 3 and expanded flat. So it looks like that's 3, 4, potentially 5 going in. Now let's get that something reasonable. We can go subminuet. All right, so let's look there now. All right, so we have this established, right? So we know that's there here up by these highs. A little sell-off today. Could that be significant? All right, there's a case to be made for it. So if this is right, and we have an A, B, C into a B, an expanded flat. Well, let's just check, see if there's any. If I take the length of the A wave from the proposed B wave. Well, there's 100%, right? So that makes me lean into that all the more. So A, B, C, right? That's irregular, right? So irregular, an expanded flat, pretty much textbook version of it. So coming off of this low, can I get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, let's go down. Oh, let's try the 3 hour working off of that low. So can we get that? So it looks like you might have, well, I have to dig here. So that looks like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly. Now, let's get that in. Let's go to green. We'll go submicro. All right, so let's look here now from our, all right, reasonable 4 there. So not quite a double top, but certainly topping behavior. So from the 38 to and through. So can we make a case now for an ending diagonal here? So this looks like, so if this is the 1, we've already overlapped. So we could make a case here for this as a 1. We got a level there. So let's break this down. So if this is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this 3 looks fairly solid. So let's just check it relative to this 1. Pulling that over. Right, so right to the 618, right? And we have all the subdivision we would need, so it's all there for this as a third. Right, down for the 4, we don't overlap the 1. Right, so that's all clean, nice Elliott trading. Everything looks good there. We're right where we'd anticipate it. So coming off of this, looks like we can go from there. We can go again, 1, 2. We'll have to check it. 3, 4. But could that be 5 there? Let's put that in white, and we'll put this one, let's go to blue, and we'll go up a degree. So bear with me a sec. Okay, so let's think about that. All right, so that's a pretty good sell-off from that move. So this is all going to go there. So let's put that in green. Okay, so there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's check that. If it looks like the 1 may be our longest here. Right, so 3 is not as long, so we got to just check the 3 against the 5. Looks like we're in good shape there. Right, so here's the 100%. So the extension's in the 1. It is a diagonal. We get an ABC, and then it looks like maybe an ABC yet again. So there's, interesting, that's 618. That's a common target. So in a diagonal, so let's look at this a couple of different ways. So there's this overlap. So first thing we're looking for from the start of the 1, through the pivot of the third. 38, you prefer it at the 50. Look at that, that was all set up for it. Nice low volume node. Don't get it. So 3, 1, A, B, looks like we've got A, B, A, B, C into a 5. So you make a pretty good case there that this is potentially now not an insignificant level being hit. So we'll have to see relative to where this retracement takes us. Well, so the first thing I would do, if that's a completed 5-wave structure, I would want to see what the reaction looks like at the first 50, right? So we've got a couple of levels down here that would be important. So if that's going to start to come down, so no reason to try and chase this, because if we're going to get a good A wave, at some point down here we'll get an A, there will be a B, and then maybe something like that. So the first move is not the move to be selling. The retrace of that first move is the move to be selling if you're looking for that short. So as I bring this over here, put that in yellow, that looks fairly reasonable. Let's go up a degree. All right, so we can get a clear count all the way through this. All right, now anything else that can be helpful to us? Well, we've got pretty good divergence here all the way down as we put in these higher highs. You can see it on the RSI just as well. So pretty marked as we're putting in. So even here it's almost a double top here as we're putting in these levels. Market's getting weaker and weaker. So right. So too soon to call an absolute top in the market, right? I wouldn't be that presumptuous, but we do have the ingredients here of a top of some significance, right? Now that could evaporate tomorrow with a new high, but right now that looks like a reasonable contender. So a logical place to look for that A wave would be between the 3 and the 4 back here. So something The note here, we've got a little low volume. So you just look for these little low volume nodes, areas where the market has not accepted price. So you may have the ingredients for an A wave here setting up. Now we're just on a 3 hour. So do we have, let's go to a 1 hour, see if we have anything to help us get some sense of pattern here. Well, it looks like you could make a case for a pretty good one. ABC, like maybe a truncated C wave. So this is the impulse move, 3, 4, 5. Maybe that puts us down here for an A wave. So how do you know? Well, we're not going to know until we see some sort of retrace off of wherever we pivot down here. We don't know what that's going to be. But wherever we pivot, we could do some projection of that. So first let's get this tightened up. Come on, get on there. There we go. Okay, so if that's a 1, 2. If I have that properly identified, well, 2, 6, 1, 8, that would be an extreme for the third relative to that 1, 2. If I have that right, if indeed that's a truncated C wave. Jesus, struggling with trading view today. So could that be our ABC? Well, yeah, I sure could. So I'd be inclined to mark that off as the 1. So there's the 1. ABC looks like there's a little subdivision to lean into that is the 2. So that actually sets up pretty nicely. All right, so big threes going in, 1, 2, 3. Do we get a 4, 5? We don't know where this low is. All right, then do we get that 4 and that 5 to bring us down here to a level that would make sense of that larger degree? So, you know, again, just looking here, it sure looks like you can make a pretty strong case for this to be, so that looks like you've got an A wave, a B wave, and then we're going into a C. So we've got this A, B, and then you finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the C. So you've got, that actually looks like it could be technical here. So, slight break, right? So now, so interesting where we're going now, right? Already having broken those levels. So even this level down here, so all of the algos have broken. So the next trade here to get on the short side is going to be from this, if and when we get a pivot down here. So I'll just put it here for the sake of the example. So do we get something like this? Do we get a little 3 wave to set us up for something like that to complete that A wave? So right now, too soon to be a seller. No reason to be a buyer down here with this just in free fall for the day. But at some point, we'll get a pivot. Let's go back out to our 3 hour and see if we can put the whole thing together. So, you know, is it a top? Well, it's something, right? So we certainly have completed something. So are there more legs to go with it? Well, too soon to call that. All right, but I would be looking for some of these key levels here, these prior resistance levels to offer some support. If nothing else, we would be looking for a full 50 off of that completed 5-way pattern, if indeed we're done. So the 50 would be down here, right? Which might, you could probably make a case here that there's, well, let's do it this way. You've got some lows here to pay attention to. Note the low volume there. So resistance, got through it, right? A resistance again, through, back to support. So this would be a level I'd be paying attention to if we're going to come all the way down there, right, as a buying opportunity for that, for a full 50. And again, all I'm doing, I'm not taking the entire length of the Nasdaq. I'm just working from our last pivot low as we go into what potentially sits here now as a completed 5-wave structure with an ending diagonal to finish it, to add validity to the idea that you've got some sort of a top in. Whether it's a substantial long-term top remains to be seen, but it's a contender. It's definitely a contender, so, you know, one to be paying attention to. So again, there's no way to trade that just right now, but even short term, right? You're late to the party on the sell. You're too early on the buy, but there may be a trade here if we get this kind of reaction here going up into that B wave. Well, that would be the trade that I'd be looking at, because we could be very clear about where to be out here. So if we're going to get a low down here, well, let's do it this way. If we're going to get a move off of this, if we get an A wave down here and we come back into a retrace anywhere in this zone up here, remember 50 to the 786 for a B wave, if that sets up for a B, well, you know you're wrong here with a new high. So you've got an opportunity here to get yourself positioned to take that ride down. But again, not necessarily the absolute top, but there's certainly a trade there. But at the moment, I don't see any reason to be either a buyer or a seller just now as it sits right now. So that's what I see there. I think there's opportunity at play. So this kind of volatility. So here we are, into October. You got the Fed talking about raising rates. I mean, you can kind of ease yourself into the idea here that there may be more downside to come yet. And just, again, not calling it top, but just observing the technicals. All right, so with that, I'll wrap there. I will be back. I've got, also by request, we're going to look at Tesla today. And again, just as a reminder, if you're interested in this kind of trading or how to integrate it into what you're doing, we do have a really structured approach with which we teach this, where, again, as I've mentioned many times, we borrow our format from the martial arts format, where we, protocol, I should say, where we take you through a series of belt testing. So if you want to really internalize this, it's not enough to just, look at a few web pages, maybe you flip through the Elliott Wave principle. You really have to have this internalized, so it's on the tip of your tongue, so you're quick to know what the primary and alternate counts would be and how to respond. So we integrate all of that into a series of tests that we put you through, because we don't want to just say, oh, take a look at this, watch this video, there you go, good luck. We want to make sure that you know it, thus the testing. So these tests are not easy to get through, which is the point. You don't want them to be easy. Right? We'd be doing you a disservice if we weren't making it tough for you to get this stuff internalized so that you're comfortable. So, to go from a white belt to a black belt, you're on your way to a successful career as a trader if you make it through that. So with that, guys, I'll wrap there, and you can always learn more about what we're doing at our website. You can find a link to that underneath this video. Okay, back to you in a little bit.